what is the belief of a boss?
So most of every boss that you come across, you, me, whether you're looking at, a lot of people look at celebrities or whatever, every boss has a strong belief system of faith, right? They have a strong faith. Now,
That's
the
right.
religion and all that may vary, but every boss is faith oriented, meaning, and faith is about believing in something that you can't see.
All right, family. Here we go. This one is going to be special. This is 903 Connection. And what do I mean by that? This is someone from my hometown who I look to for inspiration. Let me bring her in right. Dr. Harmon, Aprill Harmon. Dr. Harmon has 17 plus years of experience in health and human services. Dr. Harmon helps professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders through coaching. That's right. So if you need some coaching, at the end of the show, we're going to give her information so you can reach out. So if you need some coaching, Dr. Harmon provides coaching. She has a PhD in leadership and a master's degree in business administration. She's a full-time mom. She does it all into real estate. She's a real estate investor. She wears so many hats. Guys, you're in for a treat. Welcome to the show, Dr. Harmon. How you doing tonight?
Thank you for that welcome. I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Listen,
Good.
this is going to be a special show because, you know, being from the same hometown and seeing you, I don't follow many people on social media. And when I say follow, like I actually look at your content and what you post, and I get inspired and motivated, you know what I mean, by the information that you put out there. And so
I
I'm
appreciate
honored.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm honored to have this conversation. I know we're going to bless some people tonight, and we're going to continue the conversation. So I know where you're from, Aprill. Kind of tell the people who may not know Dr. Harmon, give us your backstory and kind of where you are today, and then we're going to jump into the conversation.
Okay. Well, I born and raised in Paris, Texas, like you mentioned. That's that 903 connection for those that don't know. Um, and I started out my first career was in the hair industry, had my own salon for a few years. Went back to school, decided to study social work because my heart and mind was about changing the plight of our community. And I continued my education on with a master's in social work. So I transitioned from the hair industry into social services, um, and then started working in healthcare, doing that and working for the government. And so I continue to excel, and now I work in a leadership position doing that. But at the same time, I also have multiple businesses, real estate, including real estate coaching and consulting. I love helping other people start businesses, helping them find their gifts, you know what I mean, empowering people to overcome those. Sometimes it's just the self-doubt, that people have about doing things. And sometimes people just need that one-on-one like guidance to get where they're trying to go. So I do that, just that's my passion. I feel like it's more of a ministry for me. Um, and here I am. So
Well, listen, here you are
talking to
doing,
you tonight.
look, here you are doing big things. You know what I'm saying? So here you are. I know a few years ago when I had the pleasure to come to one of your events, and it was think like an owner, you know what I'm saying? And I really believe in that mantra that you set out. And then one of the other ones that you always talk about, and you talk to me about it, is think like a boss, right?
Mhm.
And so let's dive into that a little bit more, Dr. Harmon. When you say think
Okay.
like a boss, let's flesh that out. What do you mean by think like a boss? Because you're on a 9 to 5, but here it is. You have all these other ventures that you have going on. So let's start with the top, and we're gonna break it all the way down. Think like a boss. Give it to us.
Okay, so nowadays with social media, it's a sexy thing. Everybody wants to be a boss, right? It's that's the thing. Everybody wants to be a boss. They think they want to be a boss. They think they want to own their own business. But you and I both know that, you know what I mean? Like that comes with a lot. It costs to be the boss, like they say. And so what I find is a lot, especially when I'm coaching and consulting people, is they start it and then it's like the real world happens, and then it's like, well, I didn't know it was gonna be like this, you know. But so when I say think like an owner, really in order to be a boss, which is nothing wrong with that. Some people see that as a negative, some people see it as a positive, but however you feel about it, you got to have a mindset. Everything starts with the mindset. And so when I say the mindset of a boss is it entails two things: thinking like an owner and thinking like a leader,
Mm.
right? Thinking like an owner is just that ownership, right? When you own something, you take care of it. You're responsible for it. You take ownership of it. Um, you know, you do what it takes so that it is successful. You have to make decisions about it. You know, you have to maintain it, sustain it. That's what I mean when I say thinking like an owner. And that doesn't just apply to if you own your own business,
Okay.
because if you are an employee somewhere, you may be a leader, a manager, a supervisor, whatever, but you may aspire to one day be um your own business owner, or even the leader of the company that you are working for. In order to do that, you still have to think like an owner, because you got to have ownership. You got to have that mindset in order to grow. So that can help you in either direction, whichever direction you're trying to go.
So let me just make
And
sure. Oh, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when you because I have a lot of these conversations when people are saying like, I'm on my job, but I want to transition. But I'm like,
Hmm. Hmm.
I asked the question, well, are you excelling at your job?
That's
So
it.
as an employee, which is nothing wrong with being an employee, but then you still can have that mindset of thinking like a boss, thinking like an owner. Are you
That's
taking
right.
care of the things and being responsible for the job and the duties that you currently have?
Right.
Because if you are, that transitions to your business, right? Is that what you're trying to get to?
Exactly. Exactly. If you're the type of person, you're on a job now, you show up late all the time. You're not you barely, you know what I mean? You barely doing good service. uh you got to be micromanaged to get your job done. Then you probably want to reevaluate if you really are ready to be a boss, right? Because when you're a boss and it's on you, you are the CEO, the COO, the CMO, the CFO, the human resources department, you the EEO department, you're the marketing department, you are that, right?
Everything.
So you're the janitorial services, you're all of that starting out, right? Typically, why? Because for people of color, we don't always have access to the financial resources, so a lot of times we have to be those things. So it's nothing wrong with that. I want to say that too. But so if you don't have the discipline to, when somebody is actually paying you to come to their business and do a job, then it's going to be challenging for you in the business world, because you don't have somebody calling you saying, "Hey, where you at? You 30 minutes late. You're an hour late. You didn't show up to work. Hey, have you done this? Have you done that?" It's all on you. So if you don't have that self discipline, then it's gonna be hard for you to own your own business. So when I say think like an owner, that's what I'm talking about. An
That's right.
owner, it takes ownership in the work, whether you're working for someone else or not. um and so that's that. And then the
I,
second piece of that is thinking like a leader. You know what I mean? Because you can be a boss, but that doesn't make you a good leader, right? A leader is someone who has a vision and is able to influence other people with that vision, and motivate and inspire other people with that vision, so that you can move forward with what it is you're trying to do. So whether it's a business, or whether you have a nonprofit, a for-profit, a movement, a cause, a ministry, whatever it is, if you're not a good leader, then you're going to have a hard time building a team and sustaining the team and moving your vision forward. So you have to also be able to lead other people, and leading is about empowering other people, influencing other people, um, and helping them to connect their personal vision with the overall vision that you have. So
Family,
you gotta
family,
you gotta have both.
family. See, I come to the table with my pen, my pencil, and some paper because I'm taking notes. Because what Dr. Harmon is saying, she's dropping what we like to call dimes or gems. Let's talk about the leadership for a moment.
Okay.
When if you own a job or whatever, you start your own business, just because you have your own business, not necessarily you're a leader. So how
Correct.
can you develop the leadership skills, or what do you find the leadership skills to help you get better?
Some people are born leaders. Like, it's just in you. You know what I mean? And then but whether you were born a natural leader or if you have to work to develop it, it's going to still take work, because even if you're born a leader, it still takes some actual work to develop the communication skills, people skills, because that's all about how you deal with people, right? And so the more you can perfect those skills, time management skills, self-management, listening, communication, your presentation skills, all of those things, because again, as a leader, the whole point is that you are empowering and inspiring other people, and that requires you to be a people person. So whatever those skills that you may be lacking in, it's there's an opportunity out there for you to work on that personal development, right? That's a part of being a leader. Most leaders take the initiative to work on developing the skills that they know that they need to develop, so they don't have to have somebody coming and saying, hey, I think you should work on this, or I think you should work on that. That may happen over the course of time. You may have mentors or people that
That's
God
right.
sends in your path that encourage you to continue moving forward, and they may recommend things for you. I've had multiple mentors in my life that have I didn't see myself as a leader, but they saw me as a leader, and they were like, you should do this or you should do that, and recommended leadership development trainings. I've done a lot of leadership development trainings. And when you're going through it, you don't see the outcome. I did, like 10 years ago, I couldn't see where I'm at now in the
That's
position I'm
right.
in now, but it those skills really do help, because stress management, self-management, all of those things. So it's just one of those things where you got to be always evaluating yourself and honest with yourself, and that's what leaders do. Like,
I remember years ago, I used to debate this question. People used to ask me like, "Are leaders naturally born, or are leaders made?" And then as I got older, because I don't think I was a quote unquote natural born leader. I had leadership skills, but then I had to like recognize, like you said, someone seen something in me to say, "Hey, let's put you in this management program. Let's put you in this leadership program." So if you're out there, you're
mhm.
thinking like, "Hey, I don't have this natural born leadership that they quote unquote say," you still can develop and become a great leader. It's not the fact that you have to be born with all these communication skills, these leadership skills, these influential skills. You can develop these things over time.
Right. Exactly. And I want to say this too: everybody is a leader, because leadership is about influence. Anybody who has any type of influence, you a leader. So you may not see yourself as a leader. You may be a leader in your home. If you have kids, you a leader. You may be a leader on your job, and you may not necessarily be have the title per se that people usually associate with a leader, but if you serve clients, though you're in a leadership position in terms of your clients, so we're all leaders because we all have influence. It is just a matter of who you have that influence over. It may be younger people who look up to you. You may be a coach, you may be an athlete, you may be a scholar, a teacher, a preacher. You know what I mean? Like, that varies for all of us, but it's just what we choose to do with that influence is where it varies. So
You touched on something that's really, really important that I learned that I haven't stopped today. You said self development. I
Mhm.
heard Jim Rohn say, you need to work harder on yourself than you do on a job. And basically, what he
Mhm.
was saying, the concept of it is, how often do you read a book that's going to help you learn about finances? How often do you read a book that's going to help you learn about management? How often do you read a book that's going to help you develop into? So I was just simply saying that self development piece is huge, because if you don't work on yourself, then like what are you doing? Are you growing? Or are you staying stagnant?
Exactly.
Someone said to me is standing still is the same thing as walking backwards. I said, wait a minute. So you mean to tell me if I, because things change day in and day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in and year out, things change. And one of the things that you have control over is your development. So I want to ask you another question, because this boss mentality, it's thrilling because I love the way you put it in perspective for people, right? You say the belief of a boss. What is the belief of a boss?
So, most of every boss that you come across, you, me, whether you're looking at, a lot of people look at celebrities or whatever, every boss has a strong belief system of faith, right? They have a strong faith. Now,
That's
the
right.
religion and all that may vary, but every boss is faith oriented, meaning, and faith is about believing in something that you can't see. When you start out as a boss, you don't see your success. Like, it's not there in front of you. A lot of times you start out, you don't have the money, you don't have the resources, you don't have the business, you don't have the ministry or the whatever it is that you set out. It's a idea. It's something that you hope for, right? And that's what faith is. It's the evidence of things that we hope for, but that are unseen. So every boss is faith oriented, meaning that they set out with an idea, and then they work and put in the work towards that. But you have no evidence to know that it's gonna manifest itself, right? That's the difference between most. That's usually what think where things start to separate the boss from those that are not a boss. Um it's that faith. Because if you don't have faith, you're gonna stop the first time, there's a hurdle. The first time, most people, that's why most people stop at the idea phase, because they don't have the resources and they can't see it and they can't find it, so they stop. Well, if you're a boss, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna figure it out, right? um I want to say this too, because a lot of people associate being a boss with like having a lot of money, being rich and famous or
Talk
whatever.
about it. Come on, April. Come on,
You
Dr.
can
Harmon.
interview any boss, they're gonna all tell you like, yeah, like that money, if you keep at it, it'll come. But the early phases, it's meager beginnings, I should say. It's meager beginnings, unless you inherited just a bunch of money or something like that. Which, but like I said, most people of color don't have that advantage, and so it's really just nickel and diamond a lot of times. You shoestringing it, you doing guerrilla marketing, you trying to you know do it broke, really. I mean, you
Well,
really
Dr.
operating
Harmon,
in faith, you know what I
the,
mean?
the studies show you get into business, you're not operating into the green until at least 3 to 5 years, anyways. So if you get into business
Exactly.
expecting to make money on day one, that may not be the mindset to have, because study shows, this is data, this is proven data, right? This is information that's out there. I'm not saying that you can't make money on day
Exactly.
one, depending on what industry, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to take you a while. So you have to operate on a limited basis. You have to be very mindful of your expenses, what you're spending your money on, where it's going, what's coming in. You have to be very, what I like to call, very resourceful. And then that's why I say,
Right.
and going back to and then I'm about to go into my next question, the behavior of a boss. So I don't know what your perspective, but let me give my idea of the behavior of the boss. So when I worked at the bank, I love my job at the bank. I was a teller. But anytime someone would go out sick or vacation, they would start asking like, well, we shorthand, who want to do this? And I would always raise my hand. I'll learn it. And so then I would start learning the job of a personal banker. So guess what happened? Then I got promoted as a personal banker. Someone else went out sick and there's another role. I'll learn it. I'll do it. And I start to learn all these different skills without getting without getting paid for it, but I was learning it. So come time to the end of the year, they say, well, we're going to give you this because you know how to do this, 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 and this. And so I took that mentality, as you say now, like you were saying earlier, you the CFO, you the CEO, you the EEO, you the HR. You wear all these different hats that you don't think about when you jump into business. And like you say, people of color or the Black community, what I would like to say is typically we don't have the resources available to us. So it's back to that boss mentality. I'm going to go and find it. And then it's that faith. I trust God. I'm going to keep moving. So I would like to hear your thought process on the behavior of a boss.
One of the key distinctions for a boss is behavior is action oriented. It's, you know what I mean? Like, it's the person who is going to show up and get the job done, irregardless of the limited resources, whether it's limited financial resources or human human resources, and that's something that if you're a boss, whether you like, again, whether you're doing it for yourself or for another organization, you're going to always be having to make decisions about limited resources and limited human resources, limited financial resources and limited human resources. And sometimes you're going to be the one jumping in to do the job when someone else falls out. They may quit, they may give up, they may just not show up. They may promise to do something, don't do it. Again, you may not have the capital, you may not have the investor, you may not have access to loans and lines of credit and things of that nature. So you figure it out, and that's the main thing. Is the biggest distinction for a boss is being action oriented and figuring things out.
That's right. So let's switch gears a little bit. We're still on the topic of boss. How do you set boss goals, whether you running your own business or you working for another company?
So the acronym I use for boss goals, the B stands for behavior, the O stands for outcomes, the S stands for strategy, and the last S stands for satisfying. So the B is the behavior, that's the action. So a person who is setting a boss goal is deciding what specific actions must be taken in order to achieve this goal. So, and that's breaking it down to the simplest action and then building up the LLC. Okay, I'm going to file my LLC. I'm going to do, it's taking those action steps instead of looking at the whole goal and saying, okay, I want to start a business, or I want to become the CEO. Okay, but what steps do you need to take to get there? So it's about taking those action steps. And then the outcomes is deciding, okay, what outcomes do you want to have achieved when you set this goal, right? So it's not about just saying, okay, I want to start a business. Okay, but what is the outcome that you want to achieve from that business? What it's not about, okay, I want to be a CEO. Well, what are the outcomes that you want to achieve as a CEO, or you want to be a leader, or whatever it is that you're aspiring to do. So having an outcome associated with each action is significant, because otherwise, why are you doing it? And then the strategy, being strategic about it is, you're going into it with a strategy already in mind. And when you're being strategic, that means you have not only a goal and steps to take towards, but you also have a plan for when there's a barrier, or when there's a risk management strategy as well, because there's going to be some financial risk. There's going to be just some overall risk that you're going to take as a boss. So you
That's right.
also have a strategy in place to deal with that, because you're anticipating what may happen, whether it's good or bad. And then lastly, the satisfying piece, most, no true boss does anything that doesn't satisfy their overall purpose or mission in life, and to motivate them, right? Because that's what keeps you motivated. That's what keeps you on the grind. That's what makes you hustle and get up early and stay up late at night and put in the resources because it's something tied to it that's greater than yourself. So you're not just doing it because you want to make money. You're doing it for a larger purpose outside of just yourself. So then it's satisfying you in not just a financial way, but in a typically a emotional way, a psychological way, a spiritual way sometimes. So um when you're setting a boss goal, you have those things, those key things in place to help you get to that level that you're trying to get to.
Family. I know you guys gonna have to pull this one back because she just dropped a lot of gems and a lot of nuggets. So, Dr. Harmon, that was, man, I'm just up here like, when I get off, I want to go to work now. I want to go read another book. I'm motivated.
Right.
No, seriously. And that's why, again, I started the show saying I'll follow you for this particular reason. This information, it's positive, it's knowledgeable, it's it's powerful, it's impactful. You move the community forward. We could talk about a lot of negative stuff that goes on, a lot of hurdles and obstacles, but this information here that you're sharing, equipping people with to make them feel empowered, giving them the mindset. We talking boss talk, right? This is what it's about. Boss behavior, outcome, strategy, satisfying. It's all a purpose designed to help you. And that's why I'm so thankful that you made time to come onto the show. So, I failed to mention early on that you're also an author. And I want to highlight the book because we want to make sure that people get the opportunity to sow into your work and the work that you've put in. So, the book title is, and I want people to go out and purchase a copy of the book and get it and make sure you read it because I know you're going to learn something from it. Declare and decree powerful affirmations to empower you to lead your life like a boss. Dr. Harmon, break that down for us. Just give us a quick glimpse into that book because they're going to go out and get it. So don't spoil it, but they're going to go out and get it. But give us a quick highlight of that book.
Well, nowadays you hear a lot about affirmations. People having vision boards and affirmations. I'm a believer. And so for me, it's nothing more powerful than the word of God. And so for me,
Amen.
what I did in this book was pulled the promises of God into to make them into affirmations based on the promises of God to really and truly empower people, not just with their own words, but then you're speaking the words that that are based on promises of God. And I just don't know of any words more affirming and more powerful than that. So that's what I wanted to do with this book, was to say, hey, yeah, we can speak affirmations, but what are those affirmations based on? But this book is, the affirmations are all based on the promises of God. And so, like I said, when you team up with God, that's like, you can't help but to be a boss. Like, you plus God is the boss. So when you on God's team, then that's you set yourself up for success. And so that's what I wanted to do with this book, is really just provide some affirmations based on God's promises for those of us who really believe and want to be in alignment with God's purpose and plan for our lives. So
Dr. Harmon,
that's what it's about.
where can they get this book? Where can they get this book?
It's available on all the outlets, Amazon. You can go to Amazon, you can type it in, Google it, and pull it up, whatever your favorite platform is. I know most people go right to Amazon, you can pull it up, and there it is. So
All right, family, listen, go, and we talked about self-development. We talked about a lot of stuff that involves investing in yourself. This is one way. This is one way to do that. Invest in yourself. Go get the copy of this book. You can find on all the platforms. Just replay the title. I already said replay it back. In fact, I'm gonna give it to you one more time because I want to make sure y'all get it. Declare and decree powerful affirmations to empower you to lead your life like a boss. All right, so I have one more final question for you, Dr. Harmon.
all right.
What advice would you give your 15-year-old self today?
Man, ooh, you hit me off guard with that one. I would really say, man, I'm trying to think back when I was 15. But you got to understand, when I was 15, I was so, I didn't have nearly the confidence that I have now. So when I look back, I would say, uh, be confident, be confident in all the gifts that you have. Um, you can do it. You have what it takes. You know what I mean? Don't let your circumstances, your environment, your surroundings, don't let those things hinder you in any way. Sometimes we allow things to hinder us mentally or emotionally, not just physically or whatever. And so I think for me, that would be the advice. And for any 15-year-old out there, I would say go for it. Like, it's okay if you want to be successful. There's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be shameful about that. That was one of the things, ironically, that I struggled with. It wasn't like trying to be negative. It was trying to be positive and trying to be successful and being a straight A student. Those were the things I got ridiculed for. And so if you out there and you struggling with that issue, don't let that stop you. That means actually that now I can, in hindsight, I know you right on track. God is preparing you to be a boss. You just don't know it yet.
Woo! Dr. Harmon, that was so powerful. Listen, if you're out there, you're 15, if you're young individual, confidence. Don't let your environment impact your outcome. I mean, she laid it out. She put it out clearly. Listen, Dr. Harmon,
Okay,
I
thank you.
know we're gonna have to have you back because there's so much more that we have to talk through that we didn't get a chance to talk about. But listen, thank you so much. Can you please let the people know where to follow you, Dr. Harmon?
Thank you for having me, Jarvis. You can follow me on social media at Coach April with two L's on all the platforms: Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, all of the platforms. I'm at Coach April with two L's. You can also go to my website at Coach April with two L's.com. And if you want to book a session or learn more about the work I'm doing or connect with me for a speaking event or whatever. So again, Jarvis, I appreciate it. And you're a boss. I just want you to know you're a boss. So keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
world needs us. The world needs us, man. We leaders. So, sometimes I just want to like go in my little corner and hide, and then somebody will come and remind me, like, nah, you can't do that.
We
You
need
gotta let
you.
your light shine. People
We,
need you. So
we
yeah.
need you. Uh, Coach April on all platforms. Do yourself a favor, book a session. We need this sister booked up because she's invested over 17 plus years of her life dedicated to helping improve the lives of others. So if you don't think you're going to come to Coach April and get the value and the benefit to move you to that next level, what are you waiting for? Dr. Harmon, thank you so much. I appreciate you for coming on and making the time. Like I said, I know I have to have you back. Um, Guys, like always, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe because we're gonna keep kicking out more content just like this. It was fire. He was dropping gems, man. So until next time, I'll catch you with y'all later. All
Thank
right.
you, Jarvis. Have a good one.